Coming up on today's episode of Airborne Unlimited, EAA modifies their show line for the Snowbirds at AirVenture. EASA approves Tamarack Active Winglets for the Citation M2. Final T-6B delivered to Naval Training Air Wing-5. Hello, I'm Christopher C. Odom. It's June 28, 2016, and this is Airborne Unlimited. The Canadian Forces Snowbirds put on one heck of a show, and to do this at EAA AirVenture 2016, they need to get a good chunk of airspace. The Snowbirds will perform on the last 3 days of EAA AirVenture, and on those days, the flightline airshow viewing area will be modified to allow the increased separation from activities on the ground. During the performance, AirVenture attendees will be restricted from accessing certain areas of parked aircraft. These areas must be also free of items such as chairs, blankets, coolers, and other loose items. Owners of aircraft that are parked in a restricted area may only have access to their aircraft during the airshow performance time if there is an urgent need and they must be accompanied by a security escort to go to their aircraft. EAA tells us signs will be clearly posted and everyone will be advised in advance of the temporary change in the airshow viewing area. Take our word for it. If this causes any minor inconvenience, it's well worth it to see the Snowbirds perform. EASA has granted Supplemental Type Certificate approval to Tamarack Aerospace for its Atlas Active Winglets on the Cessna Citation M2 light jet. This brings the total number of Cessna models approved for Tamarack's winglets up to 4. The company says that by using Atlas, the wingspan of the M2 has been increased by 5.3 feet when combined with Tamarack's winglets. Tamarack claims the change in aspect ratio will result in an improvement in performance to 2 to 3 times that of a traditional winglet installation. The Atlas Active Winglets on the M2 reduces block fuel burn by an estimated 10 to 12%, and the range is estimated to have increased by more than 100 nautical miles. It's also claimed that they improve yaw dampening and increase the maximum zero fuel weight by 400 pounds. Textron Aviation is offering active winglets at a customer option on the M2, which will be installed post-production at any Textron Aviation company-owned service center. FAA validation of the EASA STC for the M2 is expected shortly. After the break, Naval Training Wing receives its final T-6B.
Since the early days of powered flight, pilots have struggled with landing in crosswinds. In fact, crosswinds and wind gusts cause more landing accidents than fog, thunderstorms, and icing combined. That's where the Redbird X-Wind SE comes in. By placing pilots in gusty crosswind conditions for extended periods of time, the X-Wind SE gives instructors all the time they need to teach the pilot the proper techniques for landing in crosswind conditions. For more information on Redbird X-Wind SE and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulation.com.
There's a difference between charting a steady course and pushing for the ceiling. And for nearly a century, Hartzell Propeller has been defining that difference. It's in our passion for engineering and research and our dedication to testing the limits of performance. We are built on honor. We are Hartzell Propeller.
Welcome back. If you'd like to be a supporter of Airborne Unlimited, send an email to jim@aero-news.net. Naval Training Air Wing-5 received their final T-6B Texan-Two aircraft when it arrived at Naval Air Station Whiting Field last week. The landing marked the command's full complement of primary fixed-wing aircraft. The 148th and final T-6B traveled from the Beechcraft Company in Wichita, Kansas, and joined in flight with the first and Centennial aircraft in Monroeville, Alabama, to form a 3-plane formation. Over 100 instructors, students, and civilian contractors gathered at North Field to watch the formation when it arrived. The pilots joined the spectators for the commemoration ceremony, where they celebrated the years of hard work from Beechcraft and Training Wing-5 to make it this day. The T-6B Texan-Two is the first aircraft flown by student aviators in maritime services. By the time a student completes the 28-week program, they will have flown 43 flight events, 75 flight hours, and 36 simulator events. The program prepares students for the Navy's more advanced training platforms and their fleet aircraft in the future. Every Tuesday, we're going to look ahead at some of the more interesting events in the aviation universe. Here's this week's Aero-Calendar. On Saturday, June 2nd, Tyler, Texas holds an exciting event called Thunder over Cedar Creek Lake. The Thunder over Cedar Creek Lake Airshow is presented at dusk on the Saturday evening closest to the July 4th holiday time frame each year. It's a major air show, and the proceeds raise money to assist with the physical and emotional recovery and rehabilitation of wounded, injured, and disabled military personnel and veterans. Now, from the southern part of the U.S., we move up to North Calgary, Alberta, Canada. July 5th through the 7th are the dates of the Canadian Business Aviation Association Annual Convention and Exhibition. It's Canada's premier event for business aviation, featuring leading speakers, international vendors, and the largest static display of business and private aircraft. The Navy Blue Angels are back on the weekend of July 2nd at the National Cherry Festival Air Show at the Cherry Capital Airport in Traverse City, Michigan. The National Cherry Festival brings people from all over the world to Traverse City for a week-long celebration surrounding the cherry. The combination of the Cherry Festival and Saturday Air Show make it a fun-filled family affair. And just in case you think there's no such thing as a time machine, stop by the Fitchburg Municipal Airport in Maine between July 1st and the 4th to see EAA's Ford Tri-Motor in operation. You can climb aboard one of the first mass-produced airliners and step back in time to aviation's golden age. A flight on EAA's Ford Tri-Motor is a flight back to an era where air travel was considered a luxury and checking baggage didn't cost extra. Those were the days. After these messages, Amazon facing FAA penalties for shipping hazardous cargo.
Sandia introduces the new SAI 340 Quattro TSO'd airspeed, attitude, altitude, and slip. With integral backup battery, safety never looked so good. See it now at www.sandia.aero.
Concorde's recombinant gas RG series sealed battery technology produces a high-performance battery with the advantages of being pre-tested and fully charged at the factory. Find out more about Concorde's entire line of batteries at www.concordebattery.com. Concorde, the heart of your aircraft.
The aviation industry is full of news, and we're summarizing some of the other interesting stories in a brief segment we call Around the Patch. The FAA has proposed 2 civil penalties totaling $130,000 against Amazon for alleged violations of the hazardous materials regulations. The issue is the shipping of hazardous material without proper packaging or labeling. UPS workers discovered the containers. Miracle Flight celebrates its 100,000th flight. This nonprofit organization provides free commercial airline tickets to seriously ill patients so they may receive treatment and visit specialists throughout the country. This benchmark flight was made in the partnership with Southwest Airlines. Polish officials plan to exhume the remains of President Lech Kaczynski, his wife, and some others who were aboard an airplane that went down in Russia in April 2010. Officials claim the Russian investigation may be flawed and that criminal activity may have been involved in the crash. Astronomers have found that there are far more planets of the hot Jupiter type that are expected in a cluster of stars called Messier 67. Key to finding this was the HARP spectrograph at the European Southern Observatory in La Silla, Chile. Commercial drone use in the real estate business got a boost with the release of the FAA's rules governing non-hobbyist small unmanned aerial systems use. The new rules create a clearer pathway for real estate professionals to use drones for commercial purposes. Well, that's it for today's trip around the patch. Now let's get back to the rest of the news. Unfortunately, the Royal Air Force's Red Arrows Precision Demonstration Team has been cut from 2 more air shows this summer due to the new safety regulations after a Shoreham air disaster last August. Minehead Summer Festival in Somerset and Whitby Regatta in North Yorkshire have both decided to pull the Red Arrows from their programs. Earlier this week, the Farnborough Air Show restricted Red Arrow's aerobatic display to flybys only. The organizers of the Whitby Regatta posted a notice of the cancellation on social media. The statement read, "Unfortunately, we can confirm the Royal Air Force Red Arrows will not be attending this year's regatta. As a result of last year's Shoreham Air Show crash, the cost of bringing the Reds has increased dramatically." The statement added, "However, the committee is working hard to ensure all the necessary safety arrangements will be made to bring the Red Arrows back to the regatta in the not-too-distant future." Well, that's our program for today. Remember to get comprehensive real-time 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. Airborne Unlimited stream daily, Monday through Friday, with additional breaking news bulletins for important stories that fall outside of our normal deadlines. Please join us and a growing roster of over 100 outstanding industry organizations and associations every weekday for the best in aviation and aerospace news. From the staff of the Aero-News Network, the aviation world's most comprehensive news and information resource, I believe I can fly.